What's going on, Junkie Nation? Gorgeous George and Goes always bring you the big names. Today we get to talk to a two-sport star in the sense that we're going to talk MMA because he's a promoter of the Lights Out promotion out in Southern California. Big show coming up November 1st in Long Beach. More details on that coming to you soon. But he's also a former pro football player, former defensive rookie of the year, first team All-Pro, and multiple-time Pro Bowler. It's Shawne Merriman. Hey, Shawne, how are you?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Good, thank you. Hey, lots to get into, but I'm wearing a Nick Bosa jersey. I figured let's do a tribute to a DL, a defensive lineman, by wearing my defensive lineman jersey. He's out for the year. Can the Niners survive something like that? Are they gonna have to bring in a trade? Just let me pick your NFL brain for a second.
I always say, man, I think that when Nick Bosa went down, they should bring in another mega star. And I know the 49er fans not going to like to hear this, but I'm thinking Max Crosby. They got to find a way to get him out of Las Vegas. And if not him, then I would go after Myles Garrett. I mean, somebody that's a big role to fill with Nick.
Yeah, I thought you might say even Trey Hendrickson, because since he didn't give him that bag he was looking for, they gave him more money for the year, but they didn't extend.
Yeah, he's under his last deal too. That's another one. But whoever it is, they have to come in and be able to fill the shoes of Nick Bosa. And then also, this is what Bosa's was second or third injury, right?
Yeah.
So you don't know exactly how he's going to come back healthy or not. So yeah, I think they should bring in another star.
All right, cool, man. Well, so let's talk about your promotion now. It's been going on for a while out in Southern California, and you got a show coming up on November 1st. Tell me, what is Dana White, for example, to get on his radar, he wants people that fight their asses off till the very end. At least Dana White Contender Series, which seems to be the pipeline in. What about for you? What kind of fighter do you want on your show? Do you lean more towards the strikers? Do you not care? And if they're a grappler, that's okay. Same thing. Someone that goes from start to finish. What kind of a fighter is a lights out fighter?
I think we got the next up and coming superstars of the game. I really do. And you're talking about Dana White Contender Series, uh, and the UFC too. I think we've sent four guys in the last 40 days.
Oh, nice.
Two fought on Dana White Contender Series, and the other two, I believe, in the UFC. So for us, it's been cool because me being around, kind of star athletes my entire life, getting a chance to see some of these up and coming stars, and you can tell, right? You can tell from the time they walk in the weigh-ins. Obviously, they built up a reputation and a following in the area, so you're already hearing about these guys before they get in the cage. But we want the best fighting the best, right? Because if you get that opportunity to go to UFC, you've been battle tested at Lights Out Xtreme Fighting, and that's why we got so many of these up and coming guys just going to the UFC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like I say, not only have some graduated to the UFC, some are already fighting in the promotion itself as well. You got to be kind of a proud papa, right? Seeing the talent, the alum go through there.
Yeah, it's cool because we had our lad guy Chris Alvidrez, who fought and Dana White Contender Series and won. And he sent me a text right after he got out the cage, and was like, "Man, I appreciate everything, for Lights Out Extreme Fighting." And he's a great kid, but I think he's gonna be a superstar. But when you get text messages like that, as guys walking out the cage, man, I think that's pretty damn cool, especially coming from, where I came from on a football field, and really diving in this sport of MMA.
Hmm. As far as your lane, what is your lane? Because obviously there's the UFC, then you have PFL, and then you have other shows like LFA, Cage Fury, Cage Warriors. What would you like to be considered? Amongst what group? Or is your goal to be sucked into the UFC? Like you have a 10-year plan? Like what's your vision? What's your current lane that you're in?
Yeah, I think without, kind of measuring ourselves against everybody else, those some great promotions you just named. A lot who I know personally. I've been around this sport for 18 years now, and getting the opportunity to grow as fast as we are over at Lights Out Extreme Fighting, that doesn't happen by accident. And you mentioned PFL, and I was around the Bellator crew for years
Hmm.
with them, before Lights Out Extreme Fighting was launched. But I got a great team of people. Like I mentioned, I've been in this sport, man, around this sport for 18 years, and so I feel like we have a great team of matchmaking all the way down to the operations, and this, I think we're a well-oiled machine, and without really comparing ourselves to the other promotions that's out there, I think we've done some things already to separate ourselves, and we want to keep doing that.
Hmm. Shawne Merriman, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. He's got a show coming up November 1st in Long Beach, California. So it's called, let's see, the Thunder Studios. And you sell tickets to the show so people can come and watch. It's not something that's pre-recorded or anything like that. Can you tell us about that experience and what kind of an atmosphere did you envision? A Thunderdome or like what is it that a fan can count on when they go to one of your shows?
Man, it's intense. We got a little under a couple of thousand people to our shows, which is great because we've kind of built up a brand where people know that when we have these fights now in Long Beach, Thunder Studio has been a great partner of ours over the last, year and a half or so. And you start seeing, man, the lines wrapped around the door before we even open the doors.
Nice.
And I just think that for us, that says a lot because without the fans, you can't really do much. So to see them showing up, a lot of Chargers fans as well. You got a lot of Merriman jerseys, the Herbert jerseys walking around in there. Some Raiders fans, I try to charge them twice to come in there, but it's great because you get opportunity to see the impact we made in this sport over the last couple of years, but mainly this last year. The fights are on Lights Out Extreme Fighting, but we also on like UFC Fight Pass and Fubo, Amazon Free, the BN Sports. We have tons of distribution. For us, as we keep climbing and keep growing, we know that we giving these guys the opportunity to be seen. And to me, that was one of the most important parts. We want these guys to be seen. So, I got more announcements coming up too, more platforms, more distribution. We want to be seen all over the world.
Sean, could you maybe point to us? What do you feel would be like your sleeper fight on this card?
Um, I would say Cole Lauren and Cole Lauren. Watch out. So he was on our card, not the last card, but 2 cards ago, and watching him move, the first thing I was thinking to myself, we're not going to be able to keep him long. Like we won't be able to keep him long. And we got a couple guys like Drake Flores also in this card. Grant Neal. Grant Neal's another one who got a call who's on the main event. He got a call from the UFC, I believe a couple fights ago, to step in for somebody, and that didn't happen. So he's another one. He goes out and looks good in this main event. I think he's gone as well.
In your sport and in team sports, I'm sure you've been a part of some pretty epic pregame speeches, maybe some halftime speeches. But in your role, I'm sure you've probably given some speeches to your fighters before their fights. Can you, A, tell us who gave you your best speech to you? And do you remember, is there a certain way that you like to talk to your fighters before the fights?
I think Ray Lewis probably gave me my best, and it wasn't pregame. It was actually the night before the game because we talked a lot about what we were going to do the next day, and Ray had me so damn hyped up, I almost ran through a wall and couldn't sleep the night before. Um, but the cool thing about the fighters is you get a chance to, a lot of these guys I know, but some I just meet doing the weigh-ins for the first time. Like I said, I've been around, a lot of these gyms. I trained in them myself. So I have relationships with a lot of these guys and coaches and managers and everything else. But um, you can see after the weigh-ins. I always get those guys right when they show up. A few hours before the fight. Kind of get them off fist bumps. Let's go. We're gonna be packed today. I always tell them, let's go. We're gonna be packed today. So put on the show. But it's probably the best part of my job to get in the cage after every fight. I'm in a cage and get around those guys.
You're in Dubai now. You're going to be in Abu Dhabi later today, and you're going to get to see some fights. Is there a particular region of the world where you just feel like there's incredible fights? Like, I'll give you an example. Going to Japan and watching the fights is completely different, right? They're very silent, but it's super, super cool. Is there anybody that stands out for you, and maybe a place where you would want to take your fights?
Yeah, I mean, probably somewhere in Mexico soon. I would think that's going to be our first stop. Obviously we got a lot of Chargers fans to come up from Tijuana and come up from Mexico, and I would like to get down there at some point, possibly down here in Dubai or somewhere in the UAE. Um, we always get calls to come down here as well. So we started 2026. We're going to put our schedule out, and it's going to have some other states and possibly other regions.
I got a silly question to close out on my end. George is wearing a Bosa jersey. George is a bigger guy than I am. I'm a small guy. What is jersey etiquette? Can I wear a defensive lineman jersey? Could he wear a kicker's jersey? Because when we're like at the sports book or something, we're kind of laughing when the big dude's walking by and he's got the number 1, he's got a kicker or something like that. You can't do that, right? What's jersey etiquette? What do you think?
Yep, as long as it stays above your knees, that's all. You can't be
A
walking
dress,
around like a
a
jersey
moo.
dress. Yeah, that's probably the only thing that's off limits.
Yeah, all right.
Shawne, I had two buddies. These fools, for one, they're Cowboys fans, but that one guy is about 5'6", 250. He was Troy Aikman. He'd wear his number 8. I'm going back like 20, 30 years. And the other guy is about 6'2", 200, and he was Emmett Smith. And I'd stare at him and I'd be like, why don't you just swap jerseys? Like, this looks ridiculous, like a super tall Emmett Smith and a short, stocky Troy Aikman. So, yeah, I think you have to kind of get that right a little bit, right? Something's got to be in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, you don't want to stretch that number 8 out too bad if you got a big back. So that won't look good.
Exactly. I'm told you're pretty good friends with Dana White. Has he ever given you advice, and what's been the best advice he's given you for your role as a promoter, but maybe tipped you off to what is it that you're looking for when you're scouting, I guess?
Me and Dana got a really good relationship. And I think for me, to kind of be around, does that make it? I mean, we don't talk about specific things much, but kind of to be around and see the grind that goes behind it. I think that a lot of people don't know, man, Dana still grinds. He's still in pitch meetings, he's still kind of rolling up his sleeves. So you think that he would be a little bit more hands off at this point where he's at, but he still grinds, man. I think that's pretty cool for me to get a chance to see that when I'm around.
So he basically tells you don't stop, like the sport don't stop, so you can't stop, like something along those lines, or because you guys really don't have no off season in MMA.
Yeah, I mean we're having to fight every month at this point, in year round, which is a lot, and hopefully we can get up to 14 to 16, kind of grow from there. But um, yeah, just I think there's a lot of some similarities. When Dana and I talk, or when he talks on certain podcasts and doing things, and I get back around him, just about team building and just putting your shoulder down, running through any damn wall that gets there and getting things done. Very bullish on building teams and a very loyal person too. That's one of the things I've kind of taken.
Do your shows have do you go from flyweight all the way to heavyweight, or do you concentrate on a certain weight? Like, is your money weight, like, like, remember the WEC back in the day, they were just focused on the lighter weight classes, for example?
No, we focus on all of them, man. We're looking for the next up and coming dogs, right? The next up and coming superstars, and regardless of your weight class. I always say, because I'm a bigger guy, that I wish we had more heavyweights. And I was telling Tyrell Fortune, who fought for us last card, another guy that I think will probably end up in the UFC sometime soon here. We want more heavyweights. I love the big boys fighting. It's just hard to come across nowadays.
In fact, I was going to ask you this question if we had time. Some NFL players have come over, or guys that maybe didn't make it to the NFL, or played a little bit. But can you compare football toughness to the toughness of the MMA fighter? You've been around both.
There's a lot of similarities. I mean, it's kind of scary when you think about it. Obviously two different type of disciplines and two type of different work, but The attitude and the mindset, when you get around these fighters and these football players are very, very similar. First of all, you got to be crazy as hell to do both. But the second part of that is, man, just the discipline and how far some of these guys and women are willing to go. So the mindset is very, very similar.
Who's usually the scariest man in the locker room? Is it an offensive lineman, defensive lineman, or maybe a scrappy DB? Like, have you ever noticed just through high school, your years in Maryland, San Diego, Buffalo, where you just go, man, there's a common theme here. The toughest guy is usually the
Outside linebackers or DNs, man. It's always been that way.
oh
You know,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, look, the offensive linemen are big, man, but believe it or not, most of those guys are smiling and laughing,
Mhm.
are just big, jolly guys. The interior guys are a little bit more, the D linemen are a little bit more meaner. But man, you get to some of these outside linebackers, defensive ends, that's when you start coming across the scariness. Some of these guys are pretty crazy.
From your day, give me a name or a few names that you think could have been good MMA fighters if they just chose not to compete in football.
Um, Man, I always say, God, you take like a Patrick Willis.
Oh,
And it's funny. So Eric over at Extreme Couture has trained Patrick Willis and Hill Mitts and things like that, and he told me he can go. And so I think that if Patrick decided, and I was just with him at the Hall of Fame induction for Antonio Gates, and I actually talked to him about this. Uh, I think he would have been a hell of an MMA fighter if he turned out right when he retired.
P will, yeah. He's a Hall of Famer himself, and I think Fred Warner is going to be there. I mean, I'm biased because that's my squad, but I really
No,
think
I
Fred
agree.
Warner's compiled a Hall of Fame resume too.
I agree. And Fred Warner is one of my favorite players. It sucks. I think he's hurt right now, right? He's out for the season. But
Mhm.
Yeah,
um, yeah, he's another one. Roquan Smith is another guy who I just love to watch play, man. So there's some guys out there that still got that old school mentality.
yeah. I wonder if some of these DBs that are like 5'9", 180, if they could cut down to like 170 welterweight, we might have some pretty athletic dudes there as well.
Look, I've been saying it for a long time. I think that you're going to have some players that only played maybe 1 to 3 years, maybe four tops, made some really good money in his career, but still feel good when he retires or when he get done playing football and want to fight. I think that's your next champion.
Mhm.
When guys really, really take the sport serious. The next heavyweight champion, there's going to be a star, could be a star, is coming out of your SEC or your Big Ten, right? That's saying, hey, you know what? The NFL didn't work out for me. Let me see what I can do in this cage.
Who's the toughest offensive lineman that you went up against?
Man, I've seen them all. Walter Jones and Willie Roaf. I got into the NFL with Orlando Pace.
Oh,
Um, just just dogs, man. Those guys were on another planet.
athletic too. Yeah, what some of these guys can do, man. If you watch the combines, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the fans, but obviously you know this. It's incredible, 225, the 40-yard dash, your ability to jump. Some of these guys can do incredible stuff, even though they're kind of filling out that football uniform, there's some athleticism in especially a lot of the interior linemen that it doesn't look like it, but they really are pretty impressive athletes.
Yeah, and by the way, offensive and defensive linemen, they lose a ton of weight when they get done. So, they could be another opportunity there. I've actually sparred some offensive linemen who I thought were pretty good, who can be in MMA one day.
Hmm.
Nice.
If we're talking in towards the end of 2026, what are we talking about? Like, is there a certain goal? I know you had a few things you kind of want to release when the time's right, but maybe tease us what's happening with Lights Out Extreme Fighting at the end of 2026 or maybe 2027, like your vision or what you feel like you're close to accomplishing.
Yeah, I mean, with this growth we've had over this past year, it's no telling we can be by the end of 2026. One, two, also, we've implemented a lot of tech over the last, few months or so. One being the AI advertising sponsorship tech to change the sponsor change on the mat to geo-targeted all over the country and the world. That's one of the partnership with Shot Tracker. With chips in the gloves, we can measure speed, power, punch, G-force, impact. We have a lot of data that's coming. So, we're gearing up, man, for 2026 to be a massive, massive year. But also too, man, we want to keep getting the next up and coming best talent in the sport, and the more and more we're being seen all over the country and all over the world now with some of these announcements we got coming, we feel like we're going to attract the next up and coming fighters.
Do you have a favorite weight class?
Oh, me, I'm heavyweight always. I love a big heavyweight fight. Even some of the face off we have in the weigh-in, man. I'm like, I'm looking for the big guys always.
All right. Well, listen, let's not make this the only time we chat. We're fellow SoCalers. I know you live in Vegas now, but we're originally from the mean streets of Santa Ana, California. So right up the 405 from Long Beach, we go back often. We'd love to take in one of your shows and check it out. But we've been hearing about, your promotion for a while now. So we want to congratulate you. This will be your 28th show. And like I say, some of these alum now that have made it, Sharaf, for example, Alicana, that have made it to the UFC. I'm sure it's very rewarding for you guys. You lose the fighter, but at the same time, it gives you guys a little bit of that cred that, that this is a show that produces quality talent too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you guys are invited anytime. And November 1st, man, make sure you're there. LightsOutXcept.com is where you get your tickets there. So if you're in SoCal November 1st, make sure you be there, because some of these guys, I think you'll be the last time you seeing them with us, and we go big.
Right on. All right, Shawne. Well, thanks for the time, and I hope you enjoy the fights on Saturday. You're going, right?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Aspinall in what round? Or you think the Frenchman gets it done?
Oh man, this fight with Aspinall and Cyril Gane, it got a lot of factors in it, because if Aspinall win, he puts himself back in contention to fight either John Jones or maybe Alex Pereira or something like that. I don't know, but again, if he loses, then he's not worthy of any one of those fights, and so it's got a lot of implications on this fight, man. But I can't wait to see him. Both of them are great fighters, man. I think that I got Aspinall on top on this one.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think he gets it done. I think he's not just fighting Gane. He's got to be more impressive than how Jones did it against Gane to make people forget about Jones, or maybe he doesn't want that. Maybe he wants Jones at the White House. Who knows? It's a wacky sport. Anything can happen. But again, I hope you have a good time out there, and I hope you had a good time with us. We did with you. Thank you very much, Shawne.
You got it. Thanks for having me.